My dear people of southern Cameroon's Ambazonian, I bring you greetings. Today is Sunday, the 14th day of January in the year of our Lord 2018. This is the 10th day running since our interim president and some members of his cabinet were abducted in Abuja, capital of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Right up to this moment, none of the lawyers working on the matter has confirmed to have met them, although we are all convinced and happy right now that a lot of progress has been made on the case, and that in the hours and say maximum in the days ahead, this very important contact will certainly happen. I know that there's still quite some jubilation on some media houses in Yaoundé, the capital of La République du Cameroun, where some people are swearing that they have 1000% confidence that our leaders are in Yaoundé. Be that as it may, let us tell ourselves that these people believe that southern Cameroon is like the Philistines, where as soon as David brought down Goliath, everybody vanished because he was a one-man army. But the army of southern Cameroon is not a one-man army. And trust me, that is why nothing shall by any means happen to any of our leaders. My dear brothers and sisters, I'm coming to talk to us today, especially to draw our attention to the importance of this year 2018 to our struggle. We must all understand that in every struggle, in every revolution, in every human endeavor, there is that moment that you call the turning point. The year 2018 is a turning point in the struggle for the freedom of the people of southern Cameroon. Anyone who doubts it, just take a look at the evidence I'm bringing to you, I'm bringing to us all right now. First, La République du Cameroun is so confused and so disturbed because there are elections this year. You have the election into the Senate. You have election into the National Assembly. You have election at the various area councils, and you have election of the President of the Republic. And mind you, they will want to stretch to add another election, the one they will call the election into the regional assemblies, or call it regional elections, simply because they want to try to reinforce some kind of decentralization they have failed to implement over 20 years. It's about 22 years since they put it in their constitution in 1996 that they were going to do so, just because they want to continue deceiving some of our people who are still dreaming, who are still thinking that something good can still come out of Yaoundé. I've just given you that as a tip of the iceberg. You want to know further? I'm sure most of us listened to Tyrant Paul Biya speak on the 31st of December 2017. What did he say? For the first time, he admitted in his speech that the economy of La République du Cameroun was heading downward and downward ever. We have all seen the new salary scale for the military. Mr. Biya will not be able to pay. He has skyrocketed the salaries of the military to a point where people with just first school will earn 700,000 francs, whereas people with PhD will scarcely ever see 400,000, just because he believes that his whole life, that his whole existence in that country will now depend basically on the military. We all know the adage. We say, he who governs by the sword will do what? And I mean, I'm not to remind us that that kind of person only died by the sword. But I want us to look at the advantages for us in that whole confusion in this old man's head. Because for the whole of 2017, La République was unable to pay bills for small and medium-sized enterprises, as Mr. Biya himself confirmed in his speech on the 31st of December. The public investment budget was hardly executed up to 30%. That is why for the first time in his speech, he made no reference to the public investment budget. And now 2018 is even going to be worse because the banks have again lost the little confidence they have started building in the government treasury. So they will not finance the economy. The banks will not provide loans for anybody going to do business with government. And What does this indicate? It indicates that the government will find it difficult to meet its taxation objectives unless they have to start coercing people and overtaxing the few structures that are still surviving. And what is that going to do? It will kill those structures. So all we need to do is simply hold it firm, because the enemy is crumbling. The enemy is dying. When you see the kind of jubilation that took place in Yaoundé at the news that Siseko Ayuk-Tabe, our interim president, and the cabinet members were arrested, it is because they are beginning to say, oh, thank God, there is perhaps an early end to this struggle, because they are at their wits' end. They are crumbling. All we need to do is concentrate. But wait a minute. There is a new form of concentration that we must adopt right now. That new form of concentration is telling ourselves that all what we have been doing this far might not be enough. There are still a lot of us standing on the fence. There are a lot of us whose only contributions have been sitting behind the keyboard and setting confusion in the name of surrogates. That contribution is not enough. There are a lot of us whose only contributions have been selling, pessimism, telling people how this kind of thing can never happen, how the world will never support this, how we will never get anywhere. Yes, this class of people have constantly reminded us that, you see, the entire international system is against us. France is against us, Britain against us, they'll say even America is against us, they'll say the United Nations is against us. And when this arrest took place, they say, aha, if even Nigeria is against us, then what else do we have left? But I have news for you. The news I have for those of you who are pessimistic is that this struggle has just entered its most important stage, the most important turning point, because it is this kind of level of difficulty that tells you that La République is not breathing anymore, that tells you that we're on the right trajectory, that tells you that we're about to get that country. Yes, I'm beginning to dream of that wonderful country, of that Ambazonia, where our children will not be paining, will not be boarding themselves to enter ships, to pass through forests and all whatnot, and find themselves drowning on high seas because they're struggling to go to Europe or to the Western world in search of greener pastures. No, they will have jobs in abundance, that they will even be traumatized by the abundance of the choices before them. I'm beginning to dream of that Ambazonia, where you will not be given a job because of the language you speak, or because of who you know, or because of what tribe you come from. I'm beginning to dream of that Ambazonia, where you will not be given a job because of what dynasty you belong to. I am beginning to dream of that Ambazonia, where you will not be given a position of responsibility simply because you belong to one occultic group or the other. My dear brothers and sisters, we can't just sit down and watch this kind of lofty dreams go away because some of us feel that our comfort zones are still too comfortable, that we can't get out of there. This is the time, more than ever before, for us to bring on board all that we know, so that we should be able to attain the objective required. Let me draw our attention to this. There are a lot of us who have not yet given 1 yen, 1 euro, $1, 1 franc as contribution to this struggle. But you want freedom. And some of these people who have not given are waiting for this freedom more than those of us who have abandoned and sacrificed everything we ever worked for to get into this struggle. But I want to assure you, freedom is sweet. Freedom is so wonderful, but freedom is not free. You can never get freedom for free. So my dear brothers and sisters, the interim government has prescribed that we return to the one-day ghost town we have been observing on ground zero. There are some places where some people have ignored these ghost towns already simply because they have been told that this dream is fallacious. There are some places where people have ignored the school boycotts because they say our children cannot lose 1 year. But circumstances on the ground are going to make this very de facto. So why bother, first of all, to spend money? This money that you can contribute for us to take this struggle forward the fastest possible. If you have never ever contributed to this struggle, this is the time you must do it. I know that there are a lot of us who are finding it difficult to stick out our necks because you are afraid that at the least faltering you will be insulted, you will be called names, you will be called an agent of La République. Yes, I myself, John Mbah Akuroh, I have been called an agent of La République, and this is not the first time. Recall that somewhere in February My name was publicized everywhere as having collected 200 million CFA francs from La République du Cameroun. Yet some comrades saw me in the United States running after them for $5, $10 in order to survive and to enable those other brothers and sisters who are based in Nigeria on exile, who have abandoned everything to survive. And they asked themselves, but is this the man who had collected 200 million CFA and was looking this miserable? So all I want to say is we have to ignore these blackmailers. We have to forget about them. I personally, Mbah Akuroh, I have refused to go after all of those who have called me an agent of La République, who have written all sorts of literature about me, simply because I know that a good lot of people on Ground Zero who saw me almost every Sunday sticking out my neck. I remember that a good lot of them prayed for me daily. A good lot of them would call me to say, are you still free? Because they saw what I was doing for our struggle, even when it was not yet a general struggle. I have refused to go after those who have called me names. Because I'm borrowing from Mahatma Gandhi, who says an eye for an eye only ends up making the whole wide world blind. And I don't want us Ambazonians to enter Boya while blind. We have to all arise. Ignore the insults, ignore the surrogates, and bring in what you have to the table. Oh yes, I ask questions and I've been briefed. Yes, I've been briefed. Because the interim government now assures me that the relationship we had with the Foley Hawk law firm is not severed, is not about to be severed. And that SCAPAC is being reinforced to make sure that there will remain that indelible link that binds us to the Foley Hawk law firm, so that that firm will continue to do for us the great job in the area of diplomacy that it had been doing. And that is why I bring to you good news, that SCAPAC is once more receiving donations. If you have donations, if you have money to support us basically on the diplomatic front, SCAPAC is still receiving funds. Write your check and mail it to SCAPAC at P.O. Box 61, Lexington, and that is in Boston, Massachusetts. My dear brothers and sisters, I say those of us or anyone who has felt hurt in one way or the other, because at one point people were broken into camps, there was a matter of them and us, should know that the time for us to keep them away and become us, all of us should become us again, is now. That is why it is important to forgive. And that is why I take the challenge, first of all, to forgive all those who have insulted me or called me names. To forgive even all those who have said Mbah Akuroh should be killed. Because yes, I saw such hate messages. Some said, take him out quickly. Stop him before he executes his evil plan. Even you who said so, I forgive you. Because Mahatma Gandhi says, the weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is the attribute of the strong. Let us all collectively forgive one another for any differences we have had because of this struggle. Because we are all fighting for the same Boya. We are all fighting for the same freedom of the same Southern Cameroons. I am picturing a Southern Cameroons where people will fight on ideas, where people will quarrel about ideologies, but at the end of the day, embrace each other and say, oh, I see, your point wins, and we all move forward. I'm picturing a Southern Cameroons where one leader is defeated at the election and he calls his opponent and congratulates him, and they're able to sit again and look at each other eyeball to eyeball and think in the same direction for the same beautiful Southern Cameroons, for a great country, that when a President Trump will say people who come from shithole countries, we will no longer think that cap fit enough to enter our heads. Fellow comrades, let us note that love is the only force capable of transforming an enemy into a friend. I'm borrowing from Martin Luther King Jr. If we believe at any given point that because you are of one group and not of the same group with me, we can't sit together and talk, it is an error. Let the differences we have be only ideological, and then we remain a people. But let all of those ideologies help us to unify, because we need that unity today more than we've ever needed it at any time. If in the past we spoke the need for unity only on our lips or from our palates, let us begin to speak the need for unity from our hearts, because the time is now. The time is now for us to tell ourselves that this year 2018, being the defining year, shall not pass us by. That we will shout in Boya and say, this is Southern Cameroon's Ambazonian. that is free, that is the latest, the newest country in the world. That will only happen if we are steadfast. That will only happen if we forget our differences. Nothing in all the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity. Where you don't understand, ask. Do not be afraid of asking. Even if you are chastised for asking, you will receive at least answers that will enable you to join this revolution. If you are standing on the fence because you have unanswered questions, ask them. We may all have come on different ships, but we are in the same boat right now. Do you know why I keep borrowing from Martin Luther King Jr.? Because this Monday, the 15th of January, 2018 is Martin Luther King Day. And we are again to congregate in Washington, D.C. for yet another round of protest so that the world will continue to hear us. In summary, my dear brothers and sisters, wherever you are, whatever you are doing, whatever you're feeling about this revolution, kill it. Come on board and contribute. If this revolution has ever needed money more than ever before, it is now. And I tell you why. Our leaders have refused to take us into a situation where we live from one slave master to another. That is why they have hesitated a lot to mortgage our country to yet some company that may tomorrow start setting terms that will become very complicated for us to enjoy that freedom that we are sacrificing so much for. For those of you on ground zero, don't only tell yourself that you have sacrificed in terms of keeping children home, that you have sacrificed in terms of obeying ghost towns, that you have sacrificed perhaps in terms of seeing loved ones and others killed. You still have the possibility to sacrifice, because a good lot of us who are in the diaspora may not even have the money that you have. That is why I'm calling on those of us on ground zero. Organize yourselves in a way that no one will be able to betray the other. Let everyone contribute just 1,000 CFA. If we have 1 million people contributing 1,000 CFA on ground zero, that is 1 billion CFA. That is money enough to get our boys who are on the ground to continue to let Yaoundé hear the only language that they know how to hear. That is why I am telling us that the time for us to forgive ourselves for whatever we might have caused as problems to each other and come quickly on board and act as one is now. Arise, make your contributions, organize yourselves, put together the money, keep it in whatever form, notify the powers that be, and you'll be told exactly how to transform this money into meaning, into action, into that kind of necessary action that will bring the result the fastest possible. Because this year is our year. This year is our set year of freedom. And nothing shall by any means stop us unless we deliberately decide to stop ourselves. God is with us.